Hi, everyone. Have you decided what you're going to do about that teacher who you didn't hire that you found there on the campus? And for the teachers that you did hire, are you looking in the mirror and asking yourself, how can I get the people who I hired and the people who I know will understand my vision to help with those that I didn't hire? I know that's a challenge for principals, that's a challenge for assistant principals, any administrator. But all of that has to do with realizing what kind of culture do you have. And we know that research says that if you don't have a winning culture, then you cannot expect to have success on your campus. I don't care whether you have a small campus, a large campus, whether you're a chartered school, whether you are a private school, every school has its culture. And one of the biggest challenges for our new teachers and our returning teachers is having to deal with those people that they found on campus. Uh, Today, we're going to have a treat, though, and we're going to be listening and finding out from someone who is in the midst of turning school around, who has gone through the pandemic, who has a large school of different kinds of children from different types of communities. And she has been able to have a successful school. And the person that I'm talking about is Miss Erica Gaucher. We know her as Nikki. And we're in Southeast Texas, so Gaucher is spelled Gauthier. So Mrs. Gaucher is in her 21st year. I know once you see her, she looks so young. You're going to say, no, she can't be 21 years in education. And she has experience as an administrator for 8 years. It's just amazing. She has served in the role of an administrator for grades pre-K through 12, and is currently a middle school principal at Central Middle School in Nederland, Texas. During the unprecedented times of a global pandemic, she led her team and students at a minority Title I campus to maintain academic success and grew from an accountability rating of C to a B. And hallelujah for that, under the Texas Education Association's accountability system. Mrs. Gaucher values the relationships she builds with staff, students, and school community, and she attributes all of that student involvement to her academic success, to the students' academic success, and also to her success and her faculty and her staff. So we're going to bring on Miss Gaucher. All right, if I can get it. There you are. There you are.
Hello.
How are you?
I am doing good. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of your program today. I am excited.
For those of you who don't know, Miss Gaucher has gone through an experience with me when I became principal of the middle school where she was a teacher. She has seen a school that was down in the dumps, one of the lowest performing schools in the state of Texas, turn around to be recognized in the state. And she was a part of it. She was a part of that team. And I was just so pleased to have her as a teacher on my campus, a teacher who was on all the committees, a teacher who would say, I'll do it, I'll help. And I just so appreciated her. So, Miss Gaucher, what I want you to do is to tell us about your experience. I know this is not your first principalship, but tell us about your experience as a principal, and also why you chose education as a career.
Okay, sure. Well, it kind of happened in the non-traditional way. I will start by sharing the story that I've always wanted to be a teacher. Funny story, when I was younger, my dad and uncle built a playhouse for us when we were younger. and it never was a playhouse. It was a school. And so hung an American flag and a chalkboard. And I was the oldest of all of my cousins. And there's 4 of us siblings in my home. So I always had plenty of students to teach. As I went through school and high school, I was part of a peer tutoring program where I would go and volunteer in the elementaries every other day. But when I went into college, I was working for a local business that did screen printing and marketing and sold dancewear and sportswear, and I really started liking the business side of things. So I eventually changed my major to business, and that is what I graduated with, was a business degree. But the very first opportunity I had to get into a school, and my very first job out of college, was a teaching position at Edison Middle School in Port Arthur, and I was a business teacher. I was actually teaching technology applications, and it was called keyboarding at the time. And so that's what I did for 13 years. So it was really the non-traditional way. I had to get on an emergency certification at my first year and complete that year, and then go into the testing portion of it and take some courses. So I knew when I was little what I wanted to do, but kind of circled around, and that's what ended up happening for me. So I spent 13 years in the classroom as a business education teacher. 12 of those was in middle school, and 1 of those was in high school. And then I moved into administration. I moved into a elementary assistant principal position, which was my first experience with elementary, but it was very beneficial. And then eventually I moved into a assistant principal position in a high school for 1 year, and then came here as principal. And this is my 3rd year here at the middle school level. So I returned back home to middle school, and I feel most comfortable. I like all of the levels. There's something great about all of them. I think that I feel at home in middle school because that's where I taught that's where I spent my time in the classroom. But going down to elementary, I learned so much about curriculum, and identifying those learning disabilities, and having to inform parents for the first time that their little ones are struggling, and trying to help parents understand those struggles that they were going through. The knowledge that I gained at that level was just phenomenal, just being at that level and trying to help those parents work through that. Also was seeing my 2nd generation of students coming through. So it was exciting to work with former students who were then parents, and kind of making that connection. When I moved into high school, it was a whole different type of light as an administrator. And then you're dealing with, they're all real world problems, but it's adult issues at that point, and they're trying to make decisions that are going to influence where they go, possibly for the rest of their life. And some of them are already living on their own and making real adult type decisions. So, every aspect from pre-K through 12 has given me just a different light to be able to view from, and it helps you to understand where they came from here in the middle school, where they came from, maybe at elementary with their struggles that they may have had, and where they're going. And so I believe that has been beneficial for me to have that viewpoint. So as you mentioned, I was able to work with a phenomenal team of administrators when I was, we were Edison Middle School. The name changed to Thomas Jefferson Middle School. We were a campus that was struggling for quite some time. Under the direction of Dr. Polk, she came in and put some new initiatives in place. A lot of that dealt with things that we hadn't been doing, such as building relationships and getting the students more involved. And a position was created for campus activities. And I said, I would like to do that. And so it got me more involved with the students and the parents and the community, and being able to connect. And around that time, I decided to go for my master's and get into administration. And I took that time to research even further. My action research was over its student involvement and the influence it played on academic success. And so I used our students that we had at that time at Edison, or TJ, and we could see the influence and the success rate of the students who were participating, and the more opportunities that we gave, and the more things that we provided for them to be involved in, we started seeing those successes. And so that's what really influenced me to go ahead and take the leap, because it is a leap, get into administration. And I haven't been upset with that decision one day. Every day is different, but every day. But it's definitely been a great career decision for me.
Wow. You don't find many folks these days who can say, I always knew I wanted to be in education. And it's just a testament to you and to education. First of all, you said that it wasn't something that was linear with you. You kind of went here and you went there, but you were focused on what you wanted. I also heard you say that you didn't come in fully certified, that you had to work on your certification. And we have lots of principals who are working with teachers who don't have their full certification. Right. So can you talk about that and how that feels and how that relates to the people who you may have on your faculty or those that you've had in the past? How do principals work with teachers who are going through that certification program?
Sure. So, of course, it adds a little bit of stress to it. The tests, it seems like every time here in Texas, every time we turn around, the certifications are changing. It's hard for us to keep up. We call HR and say, what do they need now, to be able to teach this? And so it is a stressful process for those who are having to go through it in what I call the non-traditional way. However, with the pandemic and different changes that have taken place, I do feel like the programs are trying to work with those who are trying to earn their certification. As an assistant principal, I did work on a campus that we had a lot of teachers who were still working on that process. And I think just supporting them and giving them honest feedback regarding that test or the classes that they're going through, and taking the time, sat down and did a lot of videos with recordings to help them through their classes and the sit downs and the interviews and things like that. And so I think just taking the time and being supportive, being real and honest and raw at times about what things really look like and how to address certain situations. I am blessed on where I am now that I have a veteran staff. I have a very, I think the average number of years here is about 15 years.
Wow.
And so I am in a position right now where I do have a fully certified staff. And so that brings, challenges as well, because people have been in the industry for a while and they're used to doing things a certain way. And so new concepts and such have to be introduced in a way that is respectful of what they have been doing. And it's been working in some cases. It's been working. So why do we change things when they're working? But as things are changing here in Texas, and I know everywhere, our testing system is changing. We're going to an online platform where for years we've been testing students on paper. And so the strategies that we've used and taught for years and the data that we've looked at for years is going to change, and it's going to look different, and it's going to be scary at first. So, it's trying to make all of that mold together, the ones that still need that support from us, because I do have rookies. And so we they were just in a meeting yesterday where they're kind of teaching them the basics of data and things like that. And they provided feedback to us of what they are needing help with. And so I have some real-time feedback that they might not feel comfortable telling me directly, but they were able to open up to the supervisors that were working with them. And I know what they need now. So we'll address that. But it's just taking all the pieces and trying to mold it together. This is a unique piece for me, is having a staff that is, a veteran staff, and trying to make the changes and everybody buy into them.
Yeah. Well, listening to some principals during the pandemic and since the pandemic, they are dealing with the teacher shortage. They're dealing with having substitutes in the classroom. So they look at, what you have over at Central Middle School as an ideal situation. And as you said, even what looks like an ideal situation, you still have challenges there because you have people who are veterans and they're accustomed to doing things their way and it's working. And like you said, so, why do we have to change? And so that's something that is not a problem that, a lot of people are saying that they have, which is, unique to your environment. The other thing is that you have a unique student demographic. Would you talk about that and what some of the, the upside is and what some of the challenges are with your student demographics?
Sure. So we are a majority minority campus. Our largest minority population is our Hispanic population, which is growing just like it is across the country. We do have, we grew significantly this year. We grew with our number of newcomers who are very limited on their English. And so we do have that challenge of trying to make them feel welcome and to put in place some new academic resources that we have not had to use on our campus before, with starting with basic skills and really just trying to monitor them and pieces in place to see where they are academically. Did they have schooling, professional schooling in the country that they're coming from, or is this, for some of them, this is their first step foot in a education setting? And so we are trying to find the proper pieces to use to progress monitor them, because it's not fair for us to do it with the same things that we're doing for our other students. So we also have African American population and Asian population, and our campus is about 38% Caucasian as well. So we do have we are Title I. And so we have students who range from living in housing or homeless, and students who come from very wealthy families, and just trying to, again, make all of that gel and respect and learn from each other, and just respect the diversity of the campus and the backgrounds and the educational backgrounds, and make everybody feel welcome.
Yeah. So, Ms. Gaucher, what is your philosophy as far as making sure that your environment and your culture is one where failure is not an option? And how are you able to inculcate that into your faculty and your staff and also the community?
Well, it actually comes back from something that I remember you used to tell us all the time. Whoever walks in this door, we're going to educate them. They are able to learn. And it doesn't matter if we're trying to work with a student who is maybe on a very lower level of learning or has a learning disability, or their first time to step foot in public education, or we're seeing a population who during the pandemic did go to homeschooling. And so they've been out of school for a couple of years and now they're coming back in. And so I talk with my teachers and I tell them, everybody, they all can learn. And, some of them are never going to perform at a level that we would love for all of them to perform at. We might not be teaching the future engineers and everybody, or future doctors, or even college students. These might be we might have students that enter into the workforce, or wherever life might take them. When they walk across that stage in a few years, we want them to be prepared to their best ability for whatever it is their next step, and we are going to accept what their next step may be. And so just being open with them and respecting the different levels and the diversity of the campus when it comes to everything, as far as academic levels, or between our special education students and our 504 students or whatever it may be, acknowledging it, but also treating everybody equally and giving everybody that same opportunity.
Exactly. So in a culture like that, where you can make sure that every student has an opportunity to learn, where and I'm sure you're doing some non-traditional kinds of things to make that happen.
We are.
And sometimes you get pushback on that, but you have enough positive experiences to know that if your teachers would just trust you,
right,
and even,
right.
and even if you do make a mistake,
That's right. That's right. And sometimes we do, and we learn from it. And that's what I tell them too. We don't do everything the right way the first time, but if we don't get together and talk about it and then talk about solutions and figure out how we can go back and change what we did or didn't do, then we're failing ourselves and we're failing the kids too. And the minute I stop trying to change things is when we're going to stop growing.
Yeah.
And so just to kind of piggyback on some of that, as far as the culture, we do have a program that we have started here in the district, and I'm not trying to plug it or anything, but we have started capturing kids' hearts last year. So we're in our second year of it. We're really seeing some benefits from it, and it focuses what it is. It's focusing on the relationships that we're building with kids. They're going into classes. They're greeting them at the doors. They're starting with good things, positive things every day. They build social contracts that everybody here knows what a social contract is. And when you reference it, they know what that is. But we have even gone a little further this year. Our mascot is the canines. And so we have developed doing things the canine way. And so when we see a student who might not be walking correctly in the hallway, which means they're running.
Yeah.
We will say, hey, that's not really how we do that. That's not the canine way. That's not what we do here. So let's fix it. Let's do it. And they turn it around real quick. And so within the staff, we've also started a canines care team is what we call it. We have 6 teams and they're just randomly chosen, but everybody here on the staff, there's about 82 of us, whether you're a custodian, a classroom teacher, an aide, everybody is on a team. And so each 6 weeks, you're responsible for not each 6 weeks, 6 weeks of the year, you're responsible for a canines care project. And so, we did a Julie Rogers, they did a donation and a pink out pep rally. And next week it's a teacher appreciation night at the football game. So it's trying to build that culture among the staff, and then it trickles down to the kids, and it does. I stepped into the auditorium the other day and I was kind of serious looking for a student, and I'm panning, and a little boy tapped me on the shoulder. He said, Miss Goche, you're not smiling this morning. I said, oh, I'm sorry. I'm focusing on something. I'm looking for somebody. I said, but I gave him a smile and a thumbs up and a fist bump. And he goes, now that's the canine way. So they're putting us in check now. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So based upon what you just said, you have collaboration. You have inclusion of everyone. So as far as your leadership team, can you tell me how you have put your leadership team together, and some examples of the kinds of collaborations that have proven successful for you?
Sure. So we have a traditional academic leadership team here on campus that is made up of our department leaders for each of the content areas. And we get together periodically and kind of talk about, and I'll shoot out an email to them when there's something major that we may have to decide on that may affect the campus as a whole, just kind of get everybody's viewpoint. There's so many moving pieces that I can't think about all of them myself. And so before I shoot something out to the staff, and I had to learn that the hard way.
I made that mistake.
Yes.
I know it.
Yes. So I shoot that out, and we're a 5th through 8th grade campus. Yeah. So our 5th grade is still thinking very much on an elementary level. Yeah, and then I have 8th grade, and we also have 4 different schedules that we run here. Our 7th and 8th grade are on one schedule, and our 5th grade has a schedule, and our 6th grade actually has 2 schedules. So
Wow.
it's hard for me to think about all the moving pieces. So
Yeah.
I use them to help with decisions that are campus wide, academic decisions, and just things that might affect how our day is running. Also, through the CKH program that I mentioned, we have a group called the Process Champions, and so they are our group that gets together and helps with the relationship building and putting all the pieces of CKH together and making sure that we're planning stuff for the students and the staff equally.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you got a lot of things going on over there.
A lot.
I mean, and you are holding the reins, but I know that you're not doing it all by yourself, and that's the thing that we have to understand as administrators. It's not about us. It's about the team that we have around us. It's about, like you said, making mistakes. We make those rookie mistakes. Sometimes we get a big head. We feel like we know all the answers, and we quickly get chopped at the knees.
Yes.
And then we get up and we dust ourselves off and say,
absolutely.
Okay, I made that mistake. I'm not going to make that again.
That's right.
So, as we close, there's one last question that I want to ask you, and that is, what would you tell a teacher, that is a principal who is new this year, or a returning principal? What would you words of encouragement would you give them if they want to have a school that is being transformed into a hallelujah success story?
My biggest thing, I believe, is relationship building. This is my 3rd year here. So I'm able this year to really focus more on data and bringing them in and having those data talks. But the first year, I really spent a lot on building relationships and getting to know them, getting to know their teaching styles and just their personalities. That way I know when it gets down to us having to talk about some of the harder things, the approach that I need to take with different staff members. And some can handle things, and and some are a little bit more sensitive, and just knowing the staff and not being afraid to get out there and try new things, and mess up and learn from it and say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry goes a long way. Or we'll try to do better. What can we do better? And just, one of the things still right now, I had a lot of questions coming in about some procedural changes we were making with some special education documentation and RTI and such. And so I've just sent out a form and said, this is our FAQs. You ask everything here. Let's put it all in one place. That way I'm streamlining it and just being open and real and raw with them, and building those relationships is the biggest thing that I could suggest that can make a difference.
So what Ms. Gaucher is saying to our new principals, our returning principals, that it's all about relationship building. And you are not going to come into this job with all the answers. You may be the principal, but you don't know it all. Sometimes, our ego gets in our way, but we are going to have to learn that the people who are in our building, we're going to have to trust them. We're going to have to learn from them. Make your mistakes. You're going to have some parents who are happy with what you do. Some who are going to be disappointed. And one thing that you said that's just so important, that takes a while for some principals to learn, and that is to say, "I'm sorry. I made a mistake." When you have a parent who is upset, and you say, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that happened. It's like it just takes all of the air out of their sail, because they said they were wrong. I agree with you.
Right.
We were wrong. We were wrong.
Right.
And that takes some wisdom. That takes some prayers for you to be able, to get to that point. And as a new principal or a returning principal, that's a big step. Well, I want to thank you, Ms. Gaucher,
Thank
for
you. Thank you so much.
all the information that you shared with us on principles on the come up. And what I'm going to do, I am going to move. I think I'm going to try to move you down. Just don't leave.
Okay.
Okay. So that was Erica Gaucher, our principal, who is over a middle school and is a Title I campus. And she just basically said, go for it. Whatever situation you come across, know that you have a team, that you can collaborate. Are you going to make mistakes? Absolutely. But we're going to learn from our mistakes. So as we started the program off, we're talking about looking in the mirror, looking at the people that you have hired yourself, looking at those that you found there, and then, working with what you have, and also remembering relationships. She is saying that, you can't succeed without having relationships among everyone of your faculty and your staff, and of course with your students. And the culture will take care of the student's success. When you have a positive culture, a culture of winning, the culture is your values, your beliefs. This is the way we do things here. I think she called them, the canines. That's not the canine way. So that is building a culture. And we just won't have success if we don't have a winning culture. And if you have a culture that is toxic, then you will find out that not only will you be losing teachers, you won't be able to attract teachers, and your student success will be in the dumps. So if you are interested in more kind of conversations like this, if you go to the description and you click on Principles on the Come Up and join our group. And also you can grab a copy of our 10-page handbook on sustaining your success, because we have lots of you who are doing an absolutely fabulous job. And now you're going to have to do it again and again and again. So we thank you, and we know that we are Principals on the Come Up, where we transform schools into hallelujah success stories. We'll see you again next time.